Hello everybody, my name is Steven Dutzman and I am the editor and founder of EngageFamilyGaming.com. This is a website on the internet where parents like myself come together to give parents and caregivers the information they need to get their family game on. We cover all things video games and board games. We've got a podcast. You can find us there at EngageFamilyGaming.com/podcast. We have a newsletter that you can find at EngageFamilyGaming.com/newsletter. We're active on Instagram. That's username EngageFamilyGaming. Frankly, we're all over the place on social media. Just search anywhere for Engage Family Gaming and you'll find us there. So why are we here? This is Family Fun Night. This is one of the many Kickstarter live streams here in the Kickstarter Board Games Facebook group. Dan Zayas got us all together and said, hey, we want to highlight some more great campaigns, help people find cool stuff. And I was one of the lucky few who volunteered and was accepted. So, as I said at the top, my name's Steven Dutzman. Family Fun Night is an opportunity for me to talk about three currently active family-friendly Kickstarter campaigns. And, you know, we talk about some of my thoughts about them. I specifically choose campaigns that I think that everyone should back. Some of them will have been funded, others not. So let's talk about my three this week. The three that I want to talk about this week are, and man, was there a lot to choose from. This week was crazy. I think the entire month of October is just absolutely bananas. But the three that I chose this week are Space Explorers, Project L, and Brains. So, starting with Space Explorers, thought we would go ahead and take a look at the video here, and we'll just jump right on into it. So, here we go.
The conquest of space was one of the main human achievements of the 20th century. Space Explorers is dedicated to all the outstanding people who have made spacefaring possible. Space Explorers targets a broad audience, from experienced players to novice fans of board games. Space Explorers is a modern and fast-paced game, plenty of good times, and immersion into the atmosphere of the golden age of astronautics guaranteed. As Yuri Gagarin said at the moment of his launch, "Let's go!"
And there we go. So, as they said, let's go. So, this game is already funded. It has 15 days to go, so there's plenty happening here. Just to go down some of the numbers here, there are two relevant pledge tiers for Space Explorers. The first is the regular edition, which is one copy of the game and all the applicable stretch goals. That's a $29 pledge. And there is a deluxe edition that is a $49 pledge. The reason I mention this one, normally I don't talk about deluxe editions. We save that kind of stuff for Token Talk on Thursdays. However, I particularly like this one because the deluxe edition comes with this really cool playmat. I am a sucker for a playmat. I can't even really get into it. So, I can get into it. I'm a sucker for playmats. I don't know why. There's just something about just being able to roll something out. And the first time I ever saw a custom playmat for a specific game, a buddy of mine bought on eBay like a tournament playmat that was intended for Splendor, which, let's put a pin in that because I'm going to talk about Splendor in a few minutes here. But it just hit me. I was like, wait a minute. So there's like it'll tell me where to put all the pieces, and I don't have to fuss about it myself. I'm the kind of guy that'll lose games in a Magic tournament because I'll be reorganizing my land instead of paying attention to my opponent. So having a playmat with like spots on it to put stuff, it settles down some of my anxiety. So yeah, I definitely like the addition of, for $20 you get a really nice 12x18 playmat, and some wooden tokens. Personally, I think that's worth an extra $20 for the deluxe edition on this game. And as Logician Tim said, in the chat, He said, "I dig the art style." I am so with you, Tim. The I really love like this retro futuristic aesthetic on the cards and the components. Like, I'm a sucker for games that have an art style that helps reinforce the theme, even if it's in a subtle way, right? Like back when, I mean, this is all about the golden age, like that space race. And admittedly, I wasn't alive during that time. I was born in 1980, so I missed a lot of that. However, you see all those, the books that were printed around that time, and all the, the handouts, and, the posters and things, and they all really had this type of aesthetic. They were using these bright colors, these kind of sweeping fonts, and really it was all about, the future and like what the future was going to be like, even though it's from a simpler time. They had no idea what the actual future was going to be like with these sharp lines and things like that. They thought it would just be, a different, a different form of the present. They had no idea what we were going to do to the place. My deepest apologies to people back then. But these, I mean, this is, like I said, I really dig the art style here. In fact, this is one of the biggest selling points of this game for me. I feel about the art in this game almost the same way as I feel about the aesthetic in Letter Tycoon from Breaking Games. If you haven't seen that, I definitely recommend you take a look at it. Obviously, these games are super different thematically. One is like a letter, Scrabble type game, and obviously this is a, engine building game. But just the way that the cards really just kind of show you, or the art rather, shows me how to feel while playing the game. It definitely it scratches a very specific itch for me. So another thing I want to talk about, and I said it last week or maybe the week before, it's all starting to blend together with me. I'm always going to highlight games that can teach us something. Now, Space Explorers is not intended directly to be an educational game, right? Like, they have the names of actual, expeditions, be they United States or Soviet. However, this is not intended to be a learning tool. They did not go out of their way to say, all right, we're going to teach everybody about the space race. However, I want to talk about a concept, that I deal with a lot, on Engaged Family Gaming, and that's the idea of tangential learning. That is, it's a process by which people self-educate if a topic is exposed to them in a context that they already enjoy. So that's a whole bunch of gobbledygook, but largely what that means is if your family is playing this game, or you're playing this game with some friends or something like that, if you enjoy this game, maybe you love board games and you play this, maybe you're going to want to look up, hey, what was that space mission that helped me win that game? Or, what was the deal with this space race? Like, why is there a board game about it? That is the type of learning that is not just memorization. It's a way that, it prompts people to go and learn things themselves, and it helps with retention. So this is the kind of game that I could absolutely imagine, a homeschooler, and we know there's tons of families that homeschool that are in and embedded in the board game community, and a lot of those homeschoolers use board games as reinforcement techniques. I fully support that. This is one of those games that, while it does not directly teach the topic, it is, a savvy homeschooling mom or dad could use this as a reinforcement tool, as kind of the beginning point to an exploration of these different topics. Man, there's a whole lot of different things you can talk about, dealing with the individual projects or the space race in general, because this was a fascinating time in world history. Because, as I said in the beginning of the Kickstarter video, the fact that we made it into space is one of our greatest achievements as a species. So, I know that's a little deep for a board game podcast here, or for a board game live stream, but I'm always going to bring this up whenever I'm running into a board game that is on Kickstarter that is even kind of educational. I'm going to highlight it when I can. So that is Space Explorers. So like I said before, this game there's still 15 days to go, so you got a couple of weeks to see where it goes. It is fully funded, so this is essentially a pre-order. and it looks like it's intended to deliver by April 2019. So even if things go super sideways, maybe you get it by next summer. I think that's a pretty reasonable amount of time there. It looks like a lot of the graphic design is already done. I'm sure they have some little tweaks. There's always little tweaks, but it looks like a lot of this game is done and is, ready to go. So here we go. That is Space Explorers. So let's move on to the next one. The next game that I want to talk about is Project L. Chad, and thanks for popping into the, before I hop over to Project L, Chad, thanks for popping into the live stream. I considering, the way that these things work, I absolutely agree. I think somebody will look those projects up or, research the kind of the background between, our relationship with the Soviet Union during that time. That's just how it works. My son saw me bring home Assassin's Creed Odyssey and started looking up Greek history, what was going on with the Athenians and the Spartans. So just looking at a game cover can get people interested in stuff. If a game cover can get people interested in things, I think Space Explorers has a pretty good looking game cover. So I think that's going to motivate some folks. So let's hop on over to Project L. And let's watch a little movie, shall we?
Have you just crushed the last skull? Finally decided the fate of another galaxy? You discovered all of the secrets of the Elders, and you still crave for another challenge? We have it for you. Project L. It's a game of lovely design with simple but challenging gameplay. It's fast-paced and easy to learn. Wisely choose which puzzles to challenge. Start building them with your pieces, and when you put the last one in, it's solved. Get your pieces back and reap the rewards. More pieces means more options, right? More power. And then you can break the hardest puzzles. Use the master action and complete all of your puzzles at once. There can only be one winner at the end. Project L. Easy to learn, hard to master. Now on Kickstarter.
Okay, so first I want to talk about this video. I am so confused by why this video exists in this form. I don't know what they were doing. The various characters were super distracting. I really, what I find most interesting about it is that they used these interesting thematic characters, like an astronaut and an elfin wizard and this barbarian guy, which are heavily thematic characters, right? Saving the galaxy and all that stuff. And then they immediately evoked Tetris, which is a themeless game. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The game is obviously well funded, so they knew what they were doing. I don't know if it's on the back of that video or if it's on the back of the fact that the game looks freaking cool. I'm guessing it's probably the latter as opposed to the former. So, speaking of Tetris, I love me some Tetris. It's one of the best-selling video games of all time for a reason. But what I find really interesting about this is it's the tetrominoes and that feeling of impending doom and inevitability as those tiles slowly fall from the ceiling to the floor. That's a feeling that I've really never felt recreated in any other game that I have ever played, be it video game or board game. And I know that because it's essentially just puzzle pieces falling into place, I know that a lot of people have tried to replicate that Tetris feeling in the past. And at first blush, and I mean, this is just me, looking at this campaign, full disclosure, I have not played it myself. However, this feels to me like it might be a game that has finally crafted that that feeling, and not because it matches up to the 1-to-1 to the Tetris gameplay. I mean, that's obviously not happening, right? You are not trying to make lines. You're trying to solve puzzles using tetromino pieces for the most part. But the reason that it is that it feels that way is you're not necessarily competing with yourself. You're really racing from a logic standpoint against your opponents, and I think that is a really neat mechanic. As we go down, we look at it. I really, I love the components on this piece. I know we don't normally talk about components. That's a token talk thing. However, the idea of using these 3-layered tiles that have puzzles in them that you are responsible for solving, kind of in this cross between the tetrominoes and like tangrams, like what we used to use in grade school, is fascinating to me. And the fact that solving simpler puzzles gives you extra pieces to move on to be able to solve bigger puzzles. And in the meantime, you're using there's a lot of different layers to your decisions, right? Like, okay, so I'm going to complete this puzzle so that I can get this piece to hopefully fill something else. I think that is a lot of, kind of like multi-level thinking, which is, especially from a learning perspective, again, because I'm always going to highlight that whenever I can, I think that is just super awesome. It is beautiful. I love the bright colors on the different pieces. I really like the idea of the elegance of the different, the different puzzle pieces. There was a comment here, just to pop in, the crazy high level of production. Listen, you're right. That video has me confused, but it's very nice. I'm just confused as to why they chose to do it that way. But whatever, I'm not going to question genius, because clearly they're getting paid. And this game is actually going to happen. I really, like I said, I really love the look of the pieces here. I love the look of the boards and how it all comes together. And I really appreciate the elegance of creating these 3-leveled puzzle cards, because one of my biggest nightmare is always, a kid playing a game and Godzillaing the board, right? So if you had like flat, cards that had these puzzle pieces on them, you would absolutely have a kid, I know in my house, we would have my oldest son 3/4 of the way to finishing a puzzle, and then he would reach across the table to do something and knock it all over, and what we call Godzillaing the board. This limits that at least a little bit by kind of holding all the pieces together, which I think that's a subtle thing, but I really appreciate the elegance of that, because it does make it easier, and it makes it, just that much more steady. Big fan of that. So, that is Project L. So, tail of the tape kind of stuff. This is a game that was looking to make $17,235 US. They have made well over, at this point, they've made over $108,000. There's about a week to go. So obviously this has already been funded. It looks very cool. The good news is it looks like the design has mostly been done. So this is a matter of just getting it produced and sent out. As far as, here we go. Where are we? As far as the different pledge levels, there are 2. One is the initiate level, which is about $40. And that is the initiate. You get a copy of the game and all the initiate pledge stretch goals. And then for $55, which is really not that much more, you get the master level, where you get a project copy of the base game. It upgrades you to the collector's edition box, and you get all unlocked initiate pledge stretch goals, and the ghost piece expansion, which is Kickstarter exclusive, and all unlocked master pledge stretch goals. So apparently they have two different tracks of stretch goals here, which, that is not uncommon. And it, I think this is definitely, if you are into this style of game, I think it is worth a master pledge. This is a cool looking game that will be accessible even to inexperienced gamers. So yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't get mad. Chad saying again that they're crushing it. Yeah, you can't. I can't hate Genius. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. But I think this game, despite the rather austere box, right? It's black with like this blue L on it. Like, this is what you get. I think this game is gonna look really nice on a shelf. I think the components are gonna look nice on a table. I think, and this is just, I think, on these various, there's a whole bunch of Instagram content creators that are focused on, making pictures of their games. I think that this game really lends itself to cool photographs. So I can't wait to see, Peace Love Games or, Bebo or, some of the other folks, like, really, because they take some really great pictures and videos. I think this game is going to look very cool on some Instagram accounts. Can't wait to get my hand on it. So that is Project L. So next is Brains. So let's watch one last video here.
I'm the Rules Girl, and this is Brains, a game of graveyard building for 2 to 5 players. In Brains, you command an army of undead, and will use your zombies to beat your opponents to the treasure. The goal of the game is to win, and you win by being the first to reach 21 or more points at the start of your turn. Players start the game with a hand of cards, and must use them to both gain advantage over their opponents and to add treasure cards to their collection. Treasure cards have point values, and some grant you special abilities while in your collection, like Blowtorch, which is worth 2 extra points for each card in your graveyard. Some cards or actions can cause you to discard or bury cards to your graveyard. Cards with this symbol activate their effect as soon as they enter the graveyard, while cards with this symbol grant you an ongoing effect so long as it's at the top of your graveyard. On your turn, you may either draw, play an action, play a treasure, or bury. To draw, take 2 cards from the deck and add them to your hand. If the deck is empty, all players move the bottom card from their graveyards into the pit, then shuffle the pit to form a new deck. To play an action, play any card with this symbol. Take the action on the card and place it into the pit. Treasure cards can be played face up into your collection. If you don't want to draw or play cards, bury the top card from the deck and place it face up into your graveyard. It's now the player to your left's turn. As soon as you have 21 points or more in your collection, announce Brains! If you still have 21 or more points by the start of your next turn, you win the game. But beware, if you drop below 21 points before your next turn, the game continues. If you're playing with 5 players, the goal is to reach 17 points instead of 21. Ready to play? Give each player a gravestone. If you own other games in the Treasure Hunter series, you can include the cards from Scuttle or Ninjutsu as well. Shuffle the deck and deal 4 cards to each player. Then deal 1 card face up to each player's gravestone. The player who most recently ate goes first. I'm the Rules Girl.
Oh, started again almost. Okay, so this is Brains, the zombie card game for all ages. I thought this was appropriate, being it is spooky month, it's Halloween. Also, I love Bluebeard Entertainment. I have not played Scuttle, however, I have played my share of Ninjutsu, and this is in the same line. This is a standalone sequel to Scuttle and Ninjutsu. In fact, you can just shuffle all those games together and play a pirate ninja zombie smorgasbord of a game. I think the first thing that is worth talking about here is the art. So let me scroll past some of the reviews, which, by the way, smart on putting the reviews right at the top. I think, a lot of campaigns, people got to realize that not everybody scrolls all the way down, and a lot of times so many of these reviews are all the way at the bottom. In some of these cases, you spent real money to get these previews and reviews done. Get your money where get your money's worth, and put them towards the top, especially if they look great. And the graphic design, as far as your layout, is good. that's some inside baseball stuff. I mean, not everybody cares, but I'm sure there are some people running Kickstarters that are watching this video. So going past the reviews, just look at some of this art. I really dig it. It's cool. What's great is they managed to kind of evoke that zombie aesthetic without them being gory. So often, family games that feature zombies struggle because zombies by themselves are a horror trope, right? Like they are a horror monster. And part of that is because they consume human flesh, right? Like they're not cool to, like, you don't want to watch them do that. Most zombie movies are not kid friendly on purpose because they are horror movies. However, kids find zombies funny. In some cases, or at least they understand what they are, right? Like they are in Minecraft, they're all over the place. And one of the reasons why that happens is that there are certain games that use zombies, but and make them kind of gross and grotesque without having gore, and they do that here. So just looking at this card, admittedly, this is kind of an example. There's no real, powers or anything associated with it. But this is, this is the guitar card. Never mind. I'm stupid. But the, you notice here, you got this guy trying to get his guitar away from the zombie. The zombies are obviously zombies, but they are not biting him. They are not consuming human flesh. They're just gross. This is awesome. This is the perfect, in my opinion, expression of, zombie art, quote unquote, in a family-friendly way. So dig that. I also really just think this fits well into the art for other games in the series. I have Ninjitsu. I backed it on their last Kickstarter. I love the watercolor art and the different cartoon characters. This is just super cool looking. By the way, I love the production value on these little animated GIFs for the different cards. This is just top notch for me. I will say, as I get to the tombstone token, the fact that they were referring to it as the graveyard, while I was trying to talk myself through how to play this game, getting ready for the live stream today, totally thrown off by the fact that they called it the graveyard. I don't know why, but I kept immediately thinking of Magic the Gathering, and that's not necessarily how it works. But what are you gonna do? That's a personal issue. This game is gonna kind of sell itself. It's for kids as young as 8. If you like the other games in the Treasure Hunter series, be it Scuttle or Ninjitsu, then this is a no-brainer. See, get it? Brains. So here's how it works. There are 2 pledge levels that matter. One is the Zombie Lord pledge level, which is $15. This is going to ship this is supposed to ship next September. Sorry, 2019. It is only 2018 now, so it's going to ship next year. So you have it for next Halloween. And so you get for the Zombie Lord level, you get the copy of Brains, the promo pack, the Burial expansion, and all unlocked stretch goals. There is also the Zombie Master, which is $22. Again, same delivery time, September of next year. You get a copy of Brains, the promo pack, the Burial expansion, all unlocked stretch goals, and the Treasure Hunters expansion pack, which consists of Masters of Magic, Heavy Weather, and the Elements. All this is important. Like, if you're buying all of these games and stacking them together, like in your quiver or something like that, so you have like one big game, more cards is just, more insanity. So definitely worth looking at, especially if you were fans of the other games in the series. Now, as far as whether or not this campaign is going to work, it definitely is, and they have delivered on their previous campaign, so I would project that this will just be another pre-order. They were looking for $3,000, and they have 19 so far, and there are 7 days to go, so I would expect that, as is most Kickstarters, they're going to hit their final run soon, and so they'll probably unlock a few more stretch goals. They've got about a week, so it will be ending right around when I do my next Family Fund Night live stream. So that is Brains, the zombie card game for all ages from Bluebeard Entertainment. So I do want to thank you folks for listening and tuning in today and throwing in your comments. I will, if you're watching this after the fact, please throw your comments and questions in here. I will be regularly checking this video to answer any questions or concerns you might have. I would encourage you to, follow me on other social media channels, maybe like my Facebook page. That's facebook.com/engagefamilygaming for some of our other content, like maybe our video game content. Specifically, by the end of this week, we're going to have our holiday gift guide, because I know it's scary, isn't it? It's holiday time, where we're going to give some recommendations on video games and board games to buy for your family for the holidays. But so definitely, take a look at us elsewhere. But also take a look at the other Kickstarter live streams that are happening in this channel. There's Token Talk. There's one every day. I can't even name them all. So definitely take a look at that. So I do hope you guys have a wonderful night. We will be talking to you next week, where we're going to talk about 3 more family-friendly Kickstarter campaigns. But until that day, don't forget to get your family game on. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.